my lovelies, it's Haley Reese, and for today's video I'm coming back at you guys with a long-awaited, highly requested paranormal storytime video. If you guys have watched any of my paranormal storytime videos in the past, I mentioned that I have a lot of experience with, the other world and other dimensions and basically just anything and everything to do with the paranormal world. And that was because, like I mentioned in those videos, I grew up in a haunted house. I've been trying to figure out how I was going to introduce my haunted house to you because I have some really insane, crazy stories that I know you guys will just love if I share them with you. But I think to just jump in to one of the stories that happened within the many years that we lived within this house wouldn't really make sense because you guys won't know the background of everything to do with the house and how it ended up getting to that point. So today's video is going to be an introduction to my haunted house, telling you guys exactly what it was and why it was the way it was. And then in upcoming videos within the next week, I'm going to be sharing with you some pretty crazy particular stories that I won't be able to cram into this video. So before I get into this video, I just want to say, if you are new to my channel, hello, my name is Haley Reese, and I would really appreciate it if you do enjoy my videos that you go ahead and click that subscribe button. I honestly, guys, I cannot believe that we have hit over 10,000 subscribers. I literally feel like I'm in a dream right now. This is just so incredible, and I am so grateful for how quickly we are growing. So if you do enjoy my videos and you want to hear the upcoming stories to do with this entire house, then go ahead and click that subscribe button. So this story takes place in around 1972, which you're probably like, Haley, there's no way you were around in 1972, which true. Very true, but my mother was. In 1972, my grandparents bought a house, and it was a beautiful bungalow. It had a nice basement, but it only had the one top floor, and it had a really nice yard space where they would later put a pool in, which is one of the best parts of my childhood. But yes, so they bought this beautiful bungalow, and they moved in with my mom and her two brothers, and then the two of them. At first, it obviously seemed like a completely normal house. I mean, there was certain sounds that you would hear and things like that, but you have to figure, guys, every house makes sounds. Not every sound you hear or everything that happens is going to be paired to the paranormal side. That's just not the reality of it. Things make noises. It is what it is. But it wasn't until there appeared to be another person in the house that people sat back and said, we are definitely living in a haunted house. So before I was born, there were countless experiences in this house between my mom, her brothers, and my grandparents, and it was made very obvious very quickly that this wasn't just a creaky house, that there was actually a presence within the house, and this presence was very dominant and prominent. So as the kids grew up, my grandma would stay home and take care of the house and everything like that. And she was the first one to really realize that something was happening because she spent the most time home alone. My grandma would place something in a particular spot while being home alone, and that thing would completely disappear. And then later in the day, it would show up in a place under the couch cushion or in places where it's okay, there's no way that this could have moved from point A to point B when there's no one else in the house. Another occasion where it started to become obvious that this was a person was while she was home alone, she would hear somebody walking around, banging around, and shuffling around downstairs, very obviously, to the point where she would question, is one of the kids home? Is my husband home? Is somebody home? She would go downstairs, and not only would there be nobody there, but there would be nothing out of place. She would go downstairs, and after all that booming and all that shuffling around, she would find nothing out of place. My grandma was the first one to start telling people, listen guys, this house is haunted. But my grandma is the type of personality, she has very strong faith, and she's not, I would say she's not afraid of the other side. So to her, if they weren't harming her or they weren't harming her family, she was gonna let them live there. It wasn't a big deal. Now fast forward to the future where this actually became a physical person. Was my uncle had a really long work day, and he was sleeping in the basement on the couch, and he was passed out, hunched over the couch, and he heard somebody. And keep in mind, guys, I'm gonna tell you this right now, my uncle is not a believer in the other side. Like, he likes to believe that there are scientific, logical explanations for everything that we feel is paranormal. So for him to have shared this story with me, when I mentioned like, where should I start with this haunted house? You know, I want to start before I was born so they understand, like, before my experiences, this was happening for a long time. He shared this story with me and I was shocked, because for him to actually share this and be like, I can't explain it, is a big deal. So definitely keep that in mind while I'm sharing this. He was sleeping on the couch and he heard somebody walk down the basement stairs towards the couch, and he was like half in, half out of it, like of asleep. The person says something along the lines of, time to go to bed. Come on, let's go to bed now. And he goes, okay. And he hears the person walk back upstairs. He gets up and he goes to bed. The next day, because it was a man's voice, he says to my grandpa, what time did you tell me to go to bed last night? And my grandpa goes, what? And he goes, you came downstairs and you hovered over me and told me it's time to go to bed. That's why I got up and went to bed. And my grandpa's like, I never went downstairs. So this was just unexplainable, because there was no one else that could have been to send him to bed. Now, like I said, in future videos, I'm gonna share some pretty crazy stories from before I was even born that my grandma has shared with me, but I'm gonna continue telling you guys like the progress and the progression of this house, so that in the future videos, you'll really be able to better understand why it is the way it is. Right shortly after my uncle had been woken up by a person telling him it's time to go to bed, his girlfriend at the time was at the house, and she was not feeling well. So while they had their family dinner, she went down to the basement where there was one of the spare bedrooms, and she decided to take a nap. When she came upstairs, she asked who came in to check on her, and they hadn't even left the dinner table. And I guess what she had felt was she heard someone creak the door open, come in, stand at the end of the bed, look at her as if to like check on her, leave and close the door and go back upstairs. But not a single person at the dinner table had left, and nobody had went to check on her. So at this point, they're starting to realize, okay, this is a little bit strange. And my grandma has a psychic party at the house. What a psychic party is a psychic comes over and you get all your girlfriends, and you know, you have hors d'oeuvres and drinks and you all hang out, and basically the psychic will like individually read you all and tell you everything going on. When the psychic came into the house, immediately she was drawn to the basement, immediately. And she wanders down to the basement and she walks down and she goes towards the laundry room. Please keep this in mind, guys. My cousin and I started to grow up there. This laundry room is extremely important, so keep this in mind. She walks inside and she freezes and she's staring off into space. And obviously I wasn't there. This is my recollection of what my grandma's told me, so bear that in mind as well. But she's staring off into space. And she turns to my grandma and she says, you have a vortex in here. And basically what a vortex is, it's like a portal from our world to the spirit world. And so basically what she was trying to say is there's an open portal within the basement and within the laundry room specifically, and ghosts can come in and out as they please, which is a very scary thing, but also an interesting thing. And so they were a little bit freaked out knowing everything that had happened. They hadn't told the psychic all of these things that had been going on within the house. So for her to come out and say, look, there's a vortex, there's a portal, you know, you have spirits coming in and out daily, was a little bit freaky. Fast forward to when I am born. My parents had bought a beautiful little house. It was brand new. And then 2 years later, they divorced. And my mom was a single mom. And so, you know, to get back up on our feet, we moved in with my grandparents. I have to note, guys, as much as this house was very obviously haunted, it was the best childhood. I loved living in this house. This house has and holds like my fondest memories. So I loved every minute of living there. During the week, my grandparents would babysit my cousin and me, and we would stay there throughout the days and we would spend all of our time with my grandma. One day, my cousin is probably about, I'm guessing here because I didn't ask them, but they said he was very young, so I'm gonna guess around 4 years old. And he comes running up the stairs from the basement where he was playing and runs to my grandma, and he's crying and hysterical. And my grandma says to him, what's wrong? And he says, the old man in the laundry room yelled at me to get out. And so my grandma, knowing what she knew about there being a portal within the laundry room, automatically believes him because 1, he's super young, 2, there's no one else home. 3, he's very obviously terrified. And 4, there's a freaking portal. Obviously, it makes sense. And from that day on, the laundry room was always a very scary place. I remember being small and always being afraid to go into the laundry room. And it wasn't just a little laundry room. This was a big room. It was also a tool shop. Like, we had our laundry machines within there, but we also had a big bench for my grandpa to like work and build and whatever else. Like, it was a big room. And I used to always go play in the library area of the basement, and it was right past the laundry room. And I remember being a kid, and you guys might relate to this because I feel like every little kid kind of does this. When you're afraid of a certain space, you run as fast as you can. You feel like something's chasing you to get past it. So that's what I would do. You know, I had countless experiences with this house. It was like every single day you would hear something, you would see something, you would feel something. And the experiences that I'm going to be sharing with you guys on my channel revolving this house are just absolutely unbelievable, and I cannot wait to share them with you guys. I remember this one time I had to have been about 3 years old, and I have mentioned in my last videos I had really bad asthma. I still have really bad asthma, and I had an extremely bad asthma attack at my grandma's house. And my grandma didn't know what to do because I didn't have a puffer on me at the time, and I'm not sure why I didn't have a puffer on me. But I didn't have a puffer on me. My mom wasn't there. I believe she was working nights. And my grandma didn't really know what to do, but it wasn't hospital worthy. It was just an asthma attack that I really had to brace and breathe through. And so I remember my grandma set me up on the kitchen table. She put a boiling like pot of water, and then she had me lean over top of it, and she put a towel over my head, and she like had me breathe it in. And I remember I was sitting there and I was having obviously extreme trouble breathing, and I just felt someone rubbing my back, and I heard them saying, "It's okay, just breathe, you're gonna be okay." And this happened for about 10 minutes, and it was, I know I was young, guys, but I remember this. I remember the feeling of them rubbing my back and saying, "It's okay, it's gonna be okay." And slowly but surely I breathed the steam in, and it did help open up my airways. So when my grandma comes into the room after this person had stopped rubbing my back, she lifts the towel off of me and said, "Grandma, can you please keep rubbing my back? It makes me feel better." And my grandma goes, "Who was rubbing your back?" And I said, "You were." And she said, "No, honey, I was running you a bath." And that was when I realized that somebody had been there with me. That was not my mother, because she wasn't home. That was not my grandpa, because he's a man and it was a woman's voice. That was not my grandma. Who could it be? This house, you guys. Oh my goodness, this house. I think the reason that we had so many experiences and so many mixed experiences, for an example, my cousin had an experience in the basement where a man yelled at him, "Get out!" and he was scared. You know, I had an experience maybe a year or so later with a woman rubbing my back telling me that it's gonna be okay, just breathe. And then there were millions of great and scary experiences in the years to come. And I think it all comes back to the psychic saying that there was a vortex, there was a portal in that laundry room. And the problem with something like that is you can't really control what comes through. So sometimes we could be having one of the best things coming through, and other times we could be having something very scary coming through. And you're going to be hearing a lot about both sides in the videos to come. I feel so bad that I'm not sharing with you guys the crazy ones yet, but I really want to create these amazing videos for you and sharing these stories that I have, and I really think it will just blow your guys' mind. I feel like you guys are just going to be like, "Oh my god, we need more stories." And believe me, I have tons to come. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to hear the stories surrounding the haunted house I grew up in the future, please go ahead and click that subscribe button. I post a ton of videos, and I'm going to be posting a ton of videos about this, so you don't want to miss when I upload. And please give this video a big thumbs up. Like I always say, I really appreciate it when you do that. Remember, my loves, do all things with kindness. And until next time, love you.